The Inca civilization flourished in ancient Peru between approximately 1400 and 1533 CE. This remarkable civilization established the Inca Empire, which stretched across a vast expanse of western South America, from Quito in the north to Santiago in the south. This empire stood as not only the largest in the Americas but also the largest globally during its time. Undaunted by the challenging Andean environment, the Incas displayed their prowess by conquering diverse regions, including plains, mountains, deserts, and tropical jungles. Their remarkable conquests were matched by their unique artistic achievements and architectural marvels. Wherever they extended their influence, they constructed impressive structures and ingeniously adapted natural landscapes with terracing, highways, and settlements perched atop mountains. The awe-inspiring Machu Picchu stands as a testament to their ingenuity and continues to captivate modern visitors. As with many ancient cultures, the historical origins of the Inca people are entwined with their own myths. According to one legend, the creator deity Viracocha emerged from the Pacific Ocean and, upon reaching Lake Titicaca, created the sun and all ethnic groups. These original people were buried by the deity, emerging later from springs and rocks, known as sacred pacarinas. The Incas, more specifically, trace their roots to Tiwanaku, where the sun god Inti gave rise to their civilization. Consequently, they viewed themselves as the chosen people, the children of the sun. The Inca ruler was considered Inti's earthly representative. In an alternate version of their creation myth, the first Incas emerged from a sacred cave called Tampu Toko, or the House of Windows, situated at Pacarictambo, known as the Inn of Dawn, to the south of Cusco. The first pair of humans, Manco Capac, or Manco Capac, and his sister, who was also his wife, Mama Oclu, or Oclo, played pivotal roles. 3 more sets of brother-sister siblings followed, and together they embarked on a journey to establish their civilization. With the aid of stone warriors called Puraraucas, they triumphed over the Shanka people. The first Incas eventually settled in the Cusco Valley. Manco Capac marked this location as the future Inca capital, Cusco, by thrusting a golden rod into the ground. Recent archaeological discoveries have illuminated the fact that the earliest settlements in the Cusco Valley trace back to around 4500 BCE, when hunter-gatherer communities established themselves in the region. However, the true significance of Cusco as a center only emerged at the outset of the late intermediate period, 1000 to 1400 CE. During this era, a process of regional unification began, gathering momentum in the late 14th century CE. By the early 15th century CE, the formidable Inca leader Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui, often known as the Reverser of the World, emerged on the scene. In 1438 CE, Pachacuti defeated the Shanka people, a feat that marked the inception of Inca expansion. Driven by a thirst for resources and wealth, the Incas embarked on an unprecedented conquest. They initially turned their attention to the south and soon extended their dominion in all directions. This expansion brought them into contact with various civilizations, including the Lupaca, Colla, Chima, and Huanca cultures, which were subsequently incorporated into their empire. This conquest laid the groundwork for an intricate system of taxation and administration that bolstered the authority of Cusco, the heart of Inca power. The ascent of the Inca Empire occurred with remarkable swiftness. Those who spoke the Inca language, Quechua, or Runasimi, were elevated to a privileged status. This aristocratic class took charge of pivotal roles within the empire. Thupa Inca Yupanqui, Pachacuti's successor from 1471 CE, further propelled the empire's expansion, extending its borders by an astonishing 4,000 kilometers, 2,500 miles. The Inca Empire was referred to as Tawantinsuyo, signifying land of the 4 quarters or the 4 parts together. Cusco was considered the world's center, and from it radiated highways and sacred sighting lines known as sex, extending to each of the 4 quarters: Chinchaysuyu, north; Antisayu, east; Calaju, south; and Kuntsayu, west. The reach of the empire was staggering, stretching across what is now Ecuador, Peru, northern Chile, Bolivia, upland Argentina, and southern Colombia. This vast expanse covered over 5,500 kilometers, 3,400 miles, from north to south. Governed by 40,000 Incas, the empire encompassed a population of approximately 10 million subjects who spoke over 30 distinct languages. The Inca kings, known as Sapa Inca, have been chronicled in historical records, providing us with insights into rulers like Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui, reigned around 1438 to 63 CE, Thapa Inca Yupanqui, reigned around 1471 to 93 CE, and Huayna Capac, the last pre-Hispanic ruler, reigned around 1493 to 1525 CE. It's possible that there were instances of dual kingship, and while there's speculation about significant powers held by queens, the Spanish records lack clarity on these matters. The Sapa Inca held absolute authority and lived an opulent life. He indulged in drinking from gold and silver cups, wearing silver shoes, and residing in a palace adorned with exquisite textiles. Even after his death, the Sapa Inca was cared for, as rulers were mummified. Their mummies, malquis, were housed in the Coroconcha temple in Cusco. In elaborate ceremonies, these mummies were periodically brought outside, dressed in their finest attire, and offered food and drink. Their opinions were symbolically consulted on important state matters. Inca governance followed a compartmentalized and interconnected structure, reminiscent of their architectural designs. At the summit was the ruler, surrounded by 10 noble kinship groups known as Panaca. Following this tier were 10 more distant kinship groups, and then a third tier consisted of nobles who, though not of Inca lineage, were granted the privilege of becoming Incas. At the base of the administrative system were locally appointed administrators responsible for overseeing settlements and the smallest units of Andean population, the Elu. An Elu was a cluster of households, typically related families, working and residing together in a designated land area, providing mutual assistance when needed. Each Elu was overseen by a limited number of nobles or koracas, and intriguingly, this role was not limited by gender. The Inca governance system featured a hierarchical structure. Local administrators reported to more than 80 regional-level administrators. These regional administrators, in turn, reported to governors responsible for each quarter of the vast empire. These 4 governors then reported to the supreme ruler, the Inca, situated in Cusco. To ensure allegiance, the offspring of local rulers were held as captives in the Inca capital. The pivotal roles encompassing politics, religion, and military matters were concentrated within the Inca elite. The Spanish referred to these elite members as orjones, meaning big ears, as they adorned large ear ornaments to symbolize their status. To assert control, garrisons were scattered throughout the empire, and entirely new administrative hubs were constructed, such as Tambo, Colorado, Huánuco, Pampa, and Hatun, Zoxa. Taxes were collected through censuses, and populations were organized into groups based on multiples of 10, similar to our contemporary numbering system. As currency wasn't used, taxes were paid in goods like food, precious metals, textiles, exotic feathers, dyes, and spondylus shells. Laborers were also utilized as a form of payment and could be shifted around the empire as required, known as meter service. Agricultural land and herds were divided into 3 segments: production for religious practices and deities, for the Inca ruler, and for the local farmers' sustenance. Local communities were responsible for aiding in the construction and maintenance of imperial projects like the extensive road system spanning the empire. To manage these multifaceted statistics, the Inca employed quipus, intricate arrangements of knotted cords. The quipu was not only transportable but also capable of recording decimal values up to 10,000. While the Incas imposed their religious beliefs and administrative framework on newly conquered territories, extracting tribute and sometimes relocating loyal populations, mitmacs, for integration, their culture also provided benefits. These included food distribution during environmental crises, enhanced storage facilities for sustenance, participation in state-sponsored projects, religious festivals, road networks, irrigation systems, terrace farming, military support, and opulent art objects that were enjoyed by the local elite. The Inca capital, Cusco, from the term Quico meaning dried-up lake bed or possibly from Cosco, a specific stone marker, served as the religious and administrative heart of the empire, with a population that reached 150,000 at its zenith. Dominated by the Coroconcha complex, adorned with gold and emeralds, also known as the Temple of the Sun, this impressive city showcased the architectural accomplishments attributed to Pachacuti. Remarkable temples were dedicated to Inti, the sun god, and Mama Kilia. The former temple was lined with 700 sheets of gold weighing 2 kilograms each, while the latter was embellished with silver. The city's layout was said to resemble a puma, although this is debated by some scholars, who interpret it metaphorically. Puma Chupan represented the imperial metropolis's tail, while Sacsayhuaman formed its head. The city encompassed plazas, parks, shrines, fountains, and canals, a splendor that survives today primarily through the accounts of early European visitors who marveled at its grandeur and riches. The Inca civilization held great respect for earlier cultures that occupied similar territories, particularly the Wari and Tiwanaku. Locations like Tiwanaku and Lake Titicaca played a crucial role in Inca creation myths, making them especially significant. Inca rulers undertook regular pilgrimages to Tiwanaku and the lake's islands, where they built shrines to honor Inti, the sun god, and Mama Kilia, the moon goddess. These deities were represented by large precious metal artworks within the Coroconcha complex in Cusco. Priests and priestesses, led by the second most important figure after the king, the high priest of the sun, Wilak Umu, attended and worshipped these representations. The Inca religion focused on controlling the natural world and averting disasters such as earthquakes, floods, and droughts, which marked the natural cycle of change and renewal known as Pachacuti. Sacred sites were established, often capitalizing on natural features like mountains, caves, and springs. These sites, known as wakas, were used for astronomical observations at specific times of the year. Religious ceremonies were aligned with the astronomical calendar, particularly the movements of the sun, moon, and Milky Way, Mayu. Many ceremonies were connected to agriculture, including planting and harvesting seasons. Among these sites, the most sacred was Pacacamac, a temple city devoted to the god of the same name, believed to be responsible for humans, plants, and earthquakes. Pilgrims from across the Andes flocked to worship at Pacacamac, drawn by a significant wooden statue of the deity, which was also considered an oracle. Shamans played a vital role in Inca religion and were active in all settlements, with Cusco alone having 475, including the Yacaca, the ruler's personal advisor. Ancestor worship was a significant aspect of Inca religious practices, evident in mummification and offerings of food, drinks, and precious materials to gods. Sacrifices, involving both animals and humans, including children, were made to honor and placate the gods, ensuring the ruler's well-being. Pouring libations, such as water or chicha beer, was a crucial component of Inca religious rituals. The Incas enforced their religion on conquered populations through constructing their own temples and sacred sites. They also appropriated sacred artifacts from subjugated cultures and kept them in Cusco. Stored in the Coroconcha, these items may have served as a form of assurance, ensuring adherence to the Inca worldview. The Incas were skilled stonemasons who constructed significant buildings, walls, and fortifications using meticulously worked blocks, which fit together so precisely that mortar was unnecessary. Their structures showcased clean lines, trapezoid shapes, and often integrated natural elements. These designs have remarkably withstood frequent earthquakes in the region. The characteristic sloping trapezoidal shape and fine masonry of Inca architecture, besides their aesthetic appeal, also served as a recognizable symbol of Inca authority throughout the empire. A prevalent Inca building was the Culca, a single-room storage warehouse built of stone. These well-ventilated structures were round for storing maize or square for potatoes and tubers. The Calanca, a spacious hall, hosted community gatherings. Another architectural feature was the Cancha, a collection of small single-room and rectangular buildings, wasi and masma, surrounding a courtyard enclosed by high walls. This cancha design was common in Inca towns and was carried to conquered regions. The Incas also employed terracing to optimize land for agriculture, particularly for maize. These terraces often included canals, demonstrating the Incas' expertise in redirecting water, transporting it over long distances, channeling it underground, and creating impressive fountains. The transportation of goods across the empire relied on purpose-built roads, llamas, and human porters, as wheeled vehicles were absent. The extensive Inca road network spanned over 40,000 kilometers. These roads facilitated the movement of armies, administrators, and trade items, while also serving as a potent visual symbol of Inca rule. Rest stations were established along these roads, and a relay system of runners known as chasquis could carry messages up to 240 kilometers in a single day between settlements, ensuring effective communication across the empire. While drawing inspiration from Chimu civilization art, the Incas developed a distinct style that became a recognizable emblem of their imperial authority across the empire. Their art is prominently showcased in finely polished metalwork, gold, symbolizing the sun's sweat, silver, representing the moon's tears, and copper, ceramics, and textiles. Among these, textiles held the highest esteem in Inca society. The designs often feature geometric patterns, showcasing technical prowess and standardization. The checkerboard pattern was particularly popular. Repeated designs were a result of producing pottery and textiles as taxes for the state. Hence, artworks conveyed the cultural identity of specific communities or the designs dictated by the ruling Inca elite. Items crafted from precious metals, including discs, jewelry, figurines, and everyday objects, were exclusively crafted for Inca nobility. Some textiles were also reserved for their use. Goods made from the incredibly soft vicuna wool were similarly restricted, and only the Inca ruler could possess vicuna herds. Ceramics were more widely used, and the urpu, a bulbous vessel with a long neck and small handles, was a common shape used to store maize. Notably, Inca pottery, textiles, and architectural sculptures rarely depicted the Incas themselves, their rituals, or familiar Andean imagery like hybrid creatures. Despite stiff competition, the Incas' textiles, ceramics, and metal sculptures surpassed previous Andean cultures in technical excellence. Similar to their political dominance, the Incas enforced standard forms and designs in their art, while permitting local traditions to retain preferred colors and proportions. Accomplished artists from regions like Chan Chan and Titicaca, along with skilled female weavers, were brought to Cusco to create exquisite items for Inca rulers. The Inca Empire faced a combination of challenges that eventually led to its downfall. The empire's foundation and maintenance relied heavily on coercion, which often led to dissatisfaction among its subjects, especially in the northern regions. This discontent provided an opportunity for the Spanish conquistadors, led by Francisco Pizarro, who exploited these divisions in the mid-16th century CE. The Inca Empire wasn't yet fully consolidated when it confronted its greatest crisis. Rebellions were widespread, and the Incas were simultaneously dealing with a war in Ecuador, where they had established a second capital in Quito. Additionally, the empire was struck by devastating epidemics of European diseases, like smallpox, which had spread even faster than the European invaders themselves. These diseases decimated the population, causing an astonishing 65 to 90% loss. Huayna Capac, an Inca ruler, fell victim to this illness in 1528 CE. As the empire was grappling with these challenges, a civil war erupted between his two sons, Huasca and Atahualpa, further weakening the empire's unity. It was this convergence of factors, a combination of rebellions, disease outbreaks, and the invasion of European treasure seekers, that led to the downfall of the powerful Inca Empire, the largest and most prosperous in the Americas. The Inca language, Quechua, still persists today and is spoken by around 8 million people. Despite the destructive impact of conquerors, looting, and the passage of time, a considerable number of buildings, artifacts, and written records have endured. While these remnants are a fraction of the empire's vast riches, they stand as clear evidence of the Inca civilization's wealth, innovation, and significant cultural achievements during its relatively short existence.